All right, and we are live. All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Scarlett. I just woke up. Sorry, my brain is just mushy right now. Still. Happy Lunar New Year's, right? How do you say it, Anya?
Um, 新年快乐 in Mandarin, 新年快乐 in Cantonese.
Which one do
Uh,
I say? It's like Gong Hei Fat Choi. That's the white American way. Is that
I think Gong Fa Choi is Cantonese.
it's Cantonese?
And
Oh.
it means like hope you get rich.
Oh really? I actually had no idea.
Yeah,
I
really.
thought it was a greeting. I thought it was like, oh, Gong Hei Fat Choi. I was thinking like happy. I thought it meant Happy Lunar New Year's. I had no idea. It actually means I hope you get rich.
It
That's
it
funny.
is it is a greeting. It is a popular greeting in both Mandarin and Cantonese.
Mm-hmm.
恭喜发财 is the Mandarin version of that.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I had no idea. What about you, Moss?
What about me? Sorry.
Yeah. Do you also use Gong Hei Fat Choi as like the greeting for Lunar New Year's?
I'm going to be honest. I don't celebrate the Lunar New Year.
Oh, okay. That's fair. I don't celebrate it, but I hear friends say like that phrase. But I would greet them and just say, "Oh, Happy Lunar New Year's" if I knew they were celebrating it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and transition over to our next, or I mean, our share screen. All right. Awesome. Whoa! I already see Anya wrote something. Dang, Anya. You're on
Yeah,
top of things.
I quote something.
Okay. Let me see if I could highlight
Yeah.
your text and then just give it some background. Um, if you'd like, I usually do like
Yeah, of course.
effects, and then if I could just put the background. There you go. That way we can see it
Mm-hmm.
easier. How's that?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So all you have to do is you click effects, and then you can click background. I think is the choice you pick. But yeah.
Effect. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yep.
Did you see it?
Yep. It's all highlighted in yellow. I'll go
Yeah.
ahead. If it's okay, I can go ahead and minimize it just a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right. So we have we last left off on page 26, or what's the actual page on the manga? I thought it had an actual
I
page.
think page 20.
Oh, and
I counted, but I be wrong. But it should be page 20 in the manga.
okay. Okay. Awesome. So we have she says so cool. The girl was a telepath. So we last left off with that, and then you said on page 177, Lynn said something, right? Is this the interview from Eyes Only?
Yeah. Yes. And it's from page 177.
I see. Okay, so it says, I remember making a list of superpowers and talking over which would make the story most interesting. We decided powers like telekinesis wouldn't have much bearing on the story. Endo said, we factored in that for a spy, having one's mind read would be the worst possible predicament, and that was another part of the reason we went with telepathy. The fact that the proposal for telekinesis even came up when is it win a meeting or within a meeting?
In a meeting, I think.
Oh yeah. Okay. There we go.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Just wanted to double check. Even came up in a meeting shows that at that stage we didn't even have the concept of the manga being a crossed wires comedy. Laughs. It's such a good thing that Anya could read minds. We got real lucky on that one. Okay, interesting. So I love that you even pointed this out, that they said, like, you know, the fact that they factored that having your mind read from a spy's perspective, it is a worst case scenario, because you don't want to that's just funny. I just think that's funny, which is true, because understanding what's going on in Lloyd's mind or Twilight's mind is just so funny from Anya's perspective at times.
Yeah. And also, I also wanted to point point this out because of the recent chapter
Mm-hmm.
when people say like cooked for certain reason. I
They
think
they
whether or
cope.
not I think because some people are suspecting that Donovan also has mind reading ability
Mm-hmm. For the recent chapters, right?
for recent chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Even in chapter 30 something, when he came out for a certain time, people
Mm-hmm.
are speculating that he has mind reading ability. And
Right.
I'd like to point that out because if he has mind reading abilities, apparently Lena and Joe would know what happened every month. Probably know that having one's mind read would be the worst possible predicament
Mm-hmm.
for a spy, isn't it?
Yeah, that would.
Um,
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, and of course with
um,
the discourse that everyone's thinking that uh Donovan has probably read Lloyd's mind this whole time, and in the most recent chapters, of course, that would definitely really question the direction of Spy Family now, because I'm now curious. I'm now curious, like, what's gonna happen if that's the case.
and also the other thing I want to point out,
Mm-hmm.
as I highlighted or underlined in
Mm-hmm.
this case,
Mm-hmm.
is that by accident. Of course, I think, um, I think, the English version has doubled down by quoting unintentional, but by accident or an intent, it only means there are only two possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I think that A, the research team has um something they want to achieve, but they
Mm-hmm.
haven't achieved.
I
Like
see.
they might not think that it is. They want the subject to become a telepath, but they somehow became a telepath.
Mm-hmm.
Or even worse is that they don't know what they're looking for, but they're just making experiments for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
and they happen to create a telepath.
Yeah.
If you understand what I mean. So I think in this case might be.
I'm sorry, Anya. I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Did you hear me now?
It just sounds a little muffled. It might be the connection.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm just checking that everything's fine. But yes,
Is it better? Is this better?
a little bit much better. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying by accident, it might mean that the research team wasn't looking to create a telepath.
Yeah. The research team wasn't looking to create a
Because
telepath. Mm-hmm.
it could be manipulated, or maybe they're not looking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're just experimenting, but then they happen to create a telepath.
Yeah.
So I think this is something to factor in because I think for I think I'm going to go back to Donovan for a while, for a bit, because for recent descriptions for Mando, it seems like he focuses on his business partners first, and then we also get an underground corporation trying to do experiments
Mm-hmm.
in the Bond chapter. So I'm thinking that if it's really related to Donovan,
Mm-hmm.
say her experiments are related to Donovan, then we might have to bear in mind that the research team created her by accident. It means that they probably don't want a telepath, or we're not looking for a telepath. I'm just trying to state that because it's kind of like people. I feel like people are over focusing on like having two telepaths in a manga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
that's
see.
just all.
It's a good point. Did you want to add anything, Moss?
I don't have a point here. No, sorry.
You're good. No problem. I think that's interesting too with the direction of the manga as of right now. I think coming back to the beginning, just to reestablish, going back to Anya in terms of her being the main telepath. I do wonder though, because nothing has been confirmed about Donovan being a telepath. It's just the wife believes that he can read minds, but there's no actual real confirmation yet. That's her claim. I wouldn't be surprised because of what's going on with the recent chapter, but I think it would be interesting in terms of how do we go on from this point in this chapter. If we have two telepaths in a manga, then what are we gonna do? Like, are we gonna be? Is the series ever gonna? Sorry. Is the series ever gonna conclude if that's the case, or is this a game of cat and mouse? Is Lloyd ever gonna get close to Donovan, at all, or is he going to? Is he ever going to be successful in Operation Strix? It just puts a lot of perspective into that, I would say.
And I also wonder what the research team is after.
Yeah.
If you understand what I mean, because
Mhm.
it seems like they want to do something, but it doesn't seem like they want to create a telepath. Maybe they are experimenting on something that is related to the mind or the brain, but it doesn't seem like it by this sentence. I don't really see that they're looking for a telepath. Either they have a target, like usually in the real world, if they are doing experiments, they would have a target, like they would have a hypothesis, and then they would get funding, and then they would go on it. Of course, I've mentioned the worst case the worst scenario is that they are not looking for anything. They just have the money to do that,
Mm-hmm.
to do experiments. But I believe that maybe they're looking for something, but they created a telepath in the progress. If that makes sense.
Oh, I see. And speaking of research team, I forgot to ask for clarification. You're referring to the researchers in the manga, not the people responsible of the manga, right?
I mean the one who experimented on Anya.
Okay.
The scientist.
The scientist. Yeah.
The scientist. Yeah.
Yes. Because when you said research team, I was like, wait, are we referring to the research team responsible for Spy Family? I was just confused for like a hot minute or so.
Oh no. Just the scientist in the manga.
Okay, perfect. And also your mic sounds much better now. I don't know what you did, but you sound much clearer than before.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. I just don't know what you did, but awesome. I'm glad to hear you're much clearer now. But yeah, good point. This really like what you highlighted and presented to us is that it was very spontaneous to have a telepath in the chapter to begin with. So it's very interesting to see what they're gonna do about this, because everyone, in terms of the most popular trope or genre that I've been hearing from Spy Family, especially in the fanfiction area, the whole reveal, right? Everyone talks about the reveal, about Anya revealing that she's a telepath, and of course Lloyd and Yor respectively revealing their occupations and stuff. That's a very, very popular trope or genre that's quite commonly pursued in fanfiction, and it just makes me really curious about what's happening in terms of the real, canonically speaking, where we're gonna go about with this, if that's the case. Because as of right now, I talked about it in a post on Tumblr, that chapter 90.5 the reveal about Anya's spelling of her name goes to show that in that time, that's like sometime in the early stages of their the Forge's conception, that they did not feel comfortable with the idea of having a reveal, and that was kind of like referenced in terms of Anya's spelling of her name. It was kind of like a reveal moment, kind of like it was alluding to it, and not saying that it will happen anytime soon, but alluding to it, like it was like inferring that, okay, imagine if Anya's name is actually spelled like that, how would the family react to it? And then of course we saw what happened, and yeah, apologies, we went totally off. We were so sidetracked with the conversation in terms of the eyes only. Yeah. So yes, like the most recent chapter, and also going off into chapter 90.5. We should actually just focus on this chapter for now. That's all good. In any case, again, I just want to just leave it on that thought that basically it's just interesting to see in what direction are we going in the manga, canonically speaking, considering everything that's happened thus far. But yeah, that's all I want to end it on that. Anyways, let's go ahead and transition back to the main chapter now. So we're finally here, right? So I put an X here, that's where we left off. We start with the right side. Test subject 007. She possessed the ability to read minds. Okay. One thing I really appreciated when I first read this, I was like, oh my god, is that a James Bond reference? I think everyone knew that, right?
007.
Yeah, 007.
Yeah.
The moment I saw this, I was like, is that a James Bond reference? The first time I read it. Sorry, who just spoke?
Me. I just said, I think so.
Ah, okay. Sorry, you clipped out.
You.
Yeah, you just clipped out for a second.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. It's not your fault. Okay, so yeah, I was gonna say JB for James Bond. It was a James Bond reference. I was like so excited because I was like, oh my god, we actually have an author who is referencing a lot of spy stuff. This is so awesome. So yeah, we have James Bond being referenced there. I got excited. She possessed the ability to read minds. Also, hi Fui, good to see you in chat with us. Also, just reading what Fui was saying, maybe they were reaching higher intelligence. They were in animals, but higher intelligence in humans to unlock parts of the brain, and making just a plain mint scrub topped with the word test subject 007. I want to see how many people get it. Oh yes, that would be fun. Like just to talk about it and just say, oh, finding different illusions, like referring to other spy stuff. I like recognize 007. I don't know if I recognize any other spies. Not until that special chapter when they went to London. That's the time I noticed they did Kingsman as a reference. Yeah, but other than that, I don't see any other references yet in terms of other spy films at the moment.
You know, it's funny because you just made me think about Jeeves.
Which one?
Jeeves.
Oh, Jeeves.
Desmond's family's brother.
Oh.
Butler.
Yes, Jeeves.
And and his name starts with J. It would be funny if his initials is JB.
Oh my god!
It is even funnier. Even funnier that it is spoken in Japanese, like JB.
Wait, how do you say it in Japanese?
Because Japanese people don't pronounce the sound B, they pronounce the B sound with B instead.
Oh my god, can you imagine? Oh, actually that's really clever, the way you just said that. Jeeves? I pronounce his name as Jeeves.
Yeah,
Jeeves.
I'm just saying.
No, that's so clever.
Yes, here.
Dude, that's clever. There's Jeeves, if in terms of like, because of pronunciation in Japanese, V sounds like B, right?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I did not know that. My mind just blew up just now. Oh yeah, they have references in terms of the official art. Like, if you see, like, my icon, the pose of Yor, and there's also a pose of Twilight as well. Basically, that's the reference is referring to Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up for a second. Okay, let me find out. It's a pose. I keep forgetting what it's called though. What pose is this? It was on my acrylic stand. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I'm like pulling up my Ko-fi for this moment because I'm like, I posted it under my Ko-fi. I know this. This is it. And and then I called it the Mr. and Mrs. Smith pose, actually. It's since you guys see my oh wait, I haven't shared my screen. Oh my god, I'm so silly. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, my screen is on. So, if you look at the movie poster of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is a very iconic pose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This pose is very... Oops, what did I click? This pose in particular.
Ah, I know which poster you're talking about.
Yes. This is a very, very iconic pose of them just leaning against either walls, or they would edit them and put them back to back like this. Very, very iconic. I've been obsessed with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. When it came out, I was like, oh my god, this is great. This was so fun to watch. I enjoyed it. So this iconic pose was definitely influenced because you can see it here. Especially Yor. If you look at Yor, the way she poses her leg like this is Mrs. Smith. And then we have Brad Pitt. Basically, he has his gun down, but for Lloyd, his gun's up. And then... So yeah, you can actually... They're not facing the opposite of each other, but you can technically flip the image that way, and then it'll look like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you know? In any case, what's actually interesting, and I wanted to point this out, we'll talk about the poses here, and I think we talked about it in the first podcast that we had. I'm very particular whenever I see poses of people using, like, you know, the trigger finger. You got Brad Pitt playing as Mr. Smith. He has his finger in the trigger. It's already in the chamber and is pointing down. So I'm kind of like, ugh, that's not accurate. And I really appreciate that in the detail of Lloyd, his finger is not in the trigger. You know, like, of course he's not ready to shoot. So you don't. They always say this when you're training with a gun, especially if you are going to, like, I mean, in America we have a shooting range, right? So they even my best friend is trained as a licensed person who can hold guns and stuff. He told me in training, because he was training me as well, never ever put your finger in the chamber, like never put it on the trigger ever, unless the only time you should ever put your finger there is if you are actually ready to shoot. Because a lot of people put the finger in the trigger because they think, oh, it looks cool, but like in reality it's not accurate, because if your finger's in the trigger, there is such a thing called trigger happiness or something, or trigger happy. Your finger just flinches or something, you shoot, you know? It happens. So that's why even like gun experts or gun owners, they'll tell you specifically whenever they see people pose with guns, don't ever put your finger in the trigger chamber or on the trigger, or else it just looks like you're getting ready to shoot, like what? Shoot something. Like Mr. Smith looks like he's ready to shoot the ground or shoot his own foot. You know? So yeah, those are the small things I like to point out. But anyways, yeah, that was the other one that I noticed was an allusion, was Mr. and Mrs. Smith was from the art. 007 for Anya's nickname, Jeevis, JB. Interesting, I did not think about that. And then Fui said, I've
To
never
be
seen.
fair, I think it's a blue curtain.
I'm sorry.
To be fair, I think Jeeves is a blue curtain because Angela also said it's a very common butler name. Sorry.
Common American name?
No, butler. A common
Butler.
name for butlers.
Oh, okay. The reason why I was thinking that too was because I thought about the way I pronounced it. It was because it was inspired by Tony Stark, Iron Man, Jeeves.
Jarvis.
Oh, Jarvis. Oh my god.
Sorry, I'm a big Marvel stan. Yeah, it's Jarvis because his butler was called Jarvis. That's how I linked Jeeves.
Me too. That's how I linked it. I was like, wasn't this an Iron Man name? I forgot, and I keep forgetting it's Jarvis. Jarvis for Iron Man. Jeeves. That's how I made the connection. I was like, oh my god, is that an Iron Man reference? But they're not the same name, Scarlet. What the hell? But yeah, it was really cool when they mentioned Jeeves. I was like, I kept thinking Jarvis for some reason, but I misnamed Jarvis as Jeeves in my head. I was like, oh, it's the same name. Whoops. But in any case, Fui said, I love that in that art, Anya is just peeking behind the pillar watching because she knows both of their secrets. Yes, I actually have the Anya stand for that. I just haven't taken pictures and posted it yet because at the time when I posted this, I only had Lloyd and Yor. And then I recently bought Anya. Well, actually, I shouldn't say recent. I bought Anya like half a year ago or something. I haven't unboxed her yet and take pictures, but I have Anya. But yeah. In any case, that's one of the poses that I was pointing up here. But anyways, let's go ahead and transition back to the manga. We keep going on different detours today. I'm sorry, guys. In any case, she had been made thus by accident, an unintended consequence of research experiments conducted by a certain organization. She had later escaped from the facility. Okay, very interesting. Okay. And then we all highlighted things. Let's first start with Anya. Did you already mention this earlier about an accident unintended, right? That's what you were telling me earlier?
Yeah, I've already mentioned that, yeah.
Okay, good. And then Moss, certain organization. Why'd you highlight that? Or underline it?
Okay, so this was more of just like a thing of rereading it. I was like, oh, I didn't think of it this way. So obviously we know it's the narrator speaking here by the box.
Yeah.
And the phrase like certain organization kind of made me think like as in like a certain someone. It's like, you know, when you're like talking and you know, it's like, oh, a certain someone has told me that like you've done this recently. It's a way of pulling away from an identity without hiding the fact that you know an identity.
Yes.
In a way. So I remember just kind of skimming over it the first time I read this, but then as I was rereading, I was thinking, so it's known. So whoever this narrator is knows for a fact what this organization is, knows who it is. When are we gonna like find it? Like when are we gonna hear about it? Because obviously, like at the time, there wasn't really much about it. It was like we didn't really know very much about the scientists at all, especially not at this point.
Yes.
So it was. I really took it in a way of we're just gonna find out. It's gonna be like an immediate thing. It will get the backstory now.
Yes.
But then, like a common theme that we've seen so far is that things that are purposely made detached stay detached, and like it's a very slow process. And I just thought that's like cool to just like point out like it's still very much unidentified, even though it's known, which kind of means that there must be some sort of link somewhere with a different character.
Yeah, okay, that's actually very interesting that you point that out, because I remember when I first read this, my impression was, okay, they're gonna talk about the certain organization eventually, right? I totally forgot. I was on the same mindset as you. I thought the same thing, but I forgot about that. And I like that you brought that up because they said the word choice you can tell was a certain. When they say certain, it means there's intention. They already know who it is. The narrator knows, right? So basically we already said the narrator knows. Am I doing the spelling? Narrator is spelled with 2 T's? I forgot.
2 R's.
2 R's, okay. I was like, something had doubled, I forgot. narrator. Yeah.
Bondo. Sorry.
Bon knows. Yes. Oh, that's actually a good point. Bon knows, yes. Bon is the narrator. Can you imagine? What if it's the same voice actor?
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Dude, that would be sick, actually. That's a good theory. Bon knows. Anyways. Yes, conducted by a certain organization. I know that everyone was very quick on the manga, that we all jumped very quick, that we think Project Apple might be responsible for Anya, but we only know Project Apple is responsible for the animals. We don't know if it's extended on... Oh wait, they did mention, right? It does... They did mention human experiment, but we don't know if it's Anya related.
Yeah, it's never been specified.
Yes! Everyone thinks Project Apple equals Anya and Bond, but it's never been specified. Like, maybe Anya was a different project. She wasn't Project Apple. She was something else.
You know, it's interesting because there are two projects carried out by CIA. One is Project Artichoke, which is also which also starts with an A, and the other is Project Bluebird.
The other one's Bluebird?
Yes. One is Project Artichoke and the other is Bluebird.
Interesting. Artichoke. Let's see. So we have Project...
So yeah, so it is possible that one is named after a food, which is artichoke and apple. The other would be named after a mythical animal, which is bluebird or chimera, or any other mythical animals.
Oh my god. And then that makes sense because we're talking about this Chimera-san too. Oh my god, Anya. That is so crazy.
Yeah.
And
just food for thoughts.
That's so cool. See, I'm really happy whenever we're in call with each other. We're like, what is this? That's amazing. So Bluebird referencing Chimera. This is an actual, you said CIA project?
Yeah, there are two projects. Project Artichoke and Project Bluebird.
Do you happen to know the synopsis of Project Artichoke?
Sorry?
Do you happen to know the details? I was gonna say synopsis, like any details.
According to Wikipedia, Project Artichoke is initially known as Project Bluebird. So they were the same thing. They were like, they started in different date, but like there is first Project Bluebird and then Project Artichoke.
I see. So they're interesting.
Sorry.
Go ahead. What do you want to say, Moss? Jump in.
Sorry, I just googled what it was, but because I couldn't remember the fact that it was called Project Artichoke, I had forgotten the name of it. But this is actually a very clever way of linking to Anya.
Oh, actually, I want to look into it. So, what's Project Artichoke about?
A mind control program. Yeah,
I'm shook. Oh my god.
It's actually one of the most famous ones because it was unfortunately full of torture.
Oh my god.
And it was to do with LSD and like side effects of like staying awake and things like that. They were trying to be able to mind control people because they were going to use it for the army, for prisoners of war. It's one of the worst like experiments that the CIA performed.
I even have the
and
confidential
it's also
release.
performed on the agents, USA agents too. So it's a really bad one.
Oh my god, that is so freaking crazy. I had no idea. This is crazy. So we have approved for release. Oh look, I don't know if you guys can see my screen. Approved for release is confidential. This is an actual release document for a description of newly discovered Project Artichoke Bluebird materials. In conducting an overall review of the agency records, inventories, blah blah blah, were provided in the various agency offices, August 15, 1977. The inventory of the agency's office security archival materials reviewed the existence of 18 carton of document-held archives under the caption Project Artichoke was revealed. It was further ascertained that, unlike these materials stored within the agency restricted record centers, also located blank. Oh, they redacted it. the Office of Securities holdings within the archives are not retrievable through the office. Thus, these records were not found during the 1975-1976 congressional and Rockefeller investigation. Let's see if they highlight anything. It's into the agent's research and experimentation with drugs. Okay, there's something here. The review
Yeah, it was
now
LSD.
Yeah, LSD?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was trippy.
Cocaine too.
Yeah.
I
Sorry?
see. That's crazy. Oh, and we also have annotations here. Someone wrote. They said, "What does this pertain it? What does?" I can't really read it.
No, what does this pertain to? So what's involved?
Two. Okay, I read it kind of correct until the last one. I was like, "What's that?" Yes, what does it pertain to? The linear feed of 18. Okay, so we have 2 projects with drugs for sure. Material failed to scope that essence. Material more details divided to that, etc. So the background of literature on behavior control and drugs interested project: Artichoke or Bluebird. A library of Artichoke. The bulk of this material consists of periodical articles, reprints, scientific monographs pertaining to behavior, includes a number of bibliographies on subjects such as drugs, interrogation, interviewing techniques, lie detector, hypnotism, and brainwashing. There are folders on specific drugs and chemical agents such as I can't even pronounce the word, Rauwolfia, serpentina, meritran, mitrazole, mescaline, etc., together with several folders on non-drug related fields of behavior control, such as amnesia, ESP, electroshock therapy, prefrontal lobotomy, and schizophrenia. That's crazy. Look at all of this stuff. And this is online. I'll give you guys a link. That is insane. I did not know. Oh my god. This has been just a rabbit hole of just like, what the hell did we just get into? I'm not surprised if Endo really went down this rabbit hole and he was like, okay, let's do Project Apple, Artichoke, and then Bluebird Chimera. Holy shit, that's amazing. I did not even, my mind just blew up, you guys. Oh my god.
It's just because obviously it's all like mental. Like that entire thing was all to do with like mentality.
Yeah.
So I think it's very clever that they've linked it to Anya.
Yeah, that's so clever. I'm just, it's just crazy to me. Oh my god, I feel like my brain just literally had an explosion just go off. Anyways, Fui also wants to add, I thought it was wise for the longest time until Project Apple, I can see Project Chimera, yeah. As many of Anya's background focus on Chimera first before switching to her. A chimera is a chaotic creature made of 3 different animals for guarding areas. Yes.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it was a lion. What else was there, if you guys remember?
A snake as its tail.
As its tail, yes. And then I think
and
maybe...
a goat for its horns.
Which one?
A goat for its horns.
A goat for its horns. Oh, okay. Lion, goat, and snake. Thank you. Yeah, that's just crazy. And then Bluebird references Chimera because they're both mythical creatures, right? Is that my understanding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'm just guessing. I don't know for sure because they didn't talk about it.
Okay.
So.
No worries, no worries. But it's very interesting that you say that. And then also, Fui says that because a chimera creature is made in different animals for guarding areas, so guarding areas, are we talking like somewhere on the line of, I'm thinking about those statues that you see in Chinese places. I don't know what you call them. Anya, this is definitely your discipline.
I don't think it's Chinese. But I think it might be related to the Desmond's griffin.
Mm-hmm.
But we could talk about it later.
Yeah. No, what I mean is in terms of the chimera being like a guard dog, I was thinking like maybe the chimera was alluding to like the Chinese
You
guard
mean
protectors.
The lion?
Yes.
You mean the lion, like the giant lion outside of HSBC?
Yeah, that's correct. The one that's like those stone statues that looks like a lion or a dragon mix. I was thinking that Chimera-san was referencing like kind of like that, but as a protection for Anya.
it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure about it because mm, I only know that Chimera is like more on the evil side, while the Griffin is more on the good side.
I see.
If that makes sense.
It does.
So
Mm-hmm.
Chimera isn't really like um a godly animal. It's more like an evil animal.
Oh, it's an evil
If that
animal.
makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense because Fui just talks about it some more. She said it's more like, from what I found, guarding areas to treasure. Interesting. So just chimeras are very chaotic creatures, and yes, they'll guard the way, but they'll trick you to do it. So unless I'm getting mixed up, mythology is my sister's thing. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, so it's giving very I don't know if there's a story. I remember I've played with it when I was young. Doing riddles, answering riddles to get to a yeah, like answering riddles to get to the next level, or to reach a treasure ultimately. It feels like that. Chimera's kind of like a jokester, a riddler, maybe.
Mhm.
That's what it feels like. Interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Welcome back, Leona. Good to have you here, and feel free to type away. If you
Hi, Anna.
Yes. Let's go ahead, and if you point out anything, let us know if you ever want to jump in voice call, because I can unmute you. But yeah, and also Fui too if you'd like. Just let us know if ever. But just so you know, we are recording live, so if you're okay with having your voice recorded, just putting it out there. But in any case, we have, let's see here. Moving on, we have she then moved from institution to institution. Okay, another one here. Institution to institution, seeking someone to take care of her. That's very interesting, and I wanted to point out why I picked institution to institution. Institution has many
Uh-huh.
names, right? It's ambiguous. Institution meaning, I think, school. I think educational when I hear the word institution. Oh, I'm in the educated, and like, because institution can allude to an educational field. So does that mean she went to different schools by in any point where she was being relocated? It kind of gave that sense. Or they didn't use the word orphanage, which is more clear. You see what I'm saying? They use a very vague word.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely ambiguous because when I think of institution, I think like psych ward or prison.
oh
Negative, not as positive as teaching.
yes, that's see, I like that. See, we have the word institution is very ambiguous, so we don't actually know what it means. So for me, I took it from a teaching stance because when I hear institution, I think about an educational field. It's just another way of saying organization, because that's what it says: a society or organization found in religious, educational, social, or similar purposes. It's again coming back to the word. They don't want to repeat themselves and say organization twice, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the word conducted by a certain organization and an institution. These two words are basically they're similes. But again, a lot of the times when it comes to English, we have to be very careful with word choices because a lot of the times words have more than one definition, which is very important. Such is the case with the word institution, where I saw it as educational, like a place that does correction and stuff, in terms of maybe even referencing an orphanage too in that case. But for Moss, she saw it as like a very negative word. It's a place where you they imprison you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really interesting that they use these word choices. So it makes you wonder, institution to institution, are they, this is another, like, I'm reading too much into it. Could they mean basically educational field to being jailed up somewhere? You see what I'm saying? Institution to institution? It's like a play on
Mm-hmm.
definition. Oh my god, that's just crazy. Okay. But yeah, ambiguity is always fun to dive into because we don't really know what it is. It's just, I think if anything, it just brings up more questions. Um, any case, seeking someone to take care of her. Okay, so Anya, you highlighted or underlined this. I keep saying highlight. Care to go into more details on that?
I I think the Chinese version caught my attention because normally not oh, this is um this is the word
Mm-hmm.
that is used in in a Japanese version.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it could mean the guardian, not only the caretaker but a guardian. But then it could also mean a protector. That could explain why she wanted Lloyd and also Yor to be her parents, because they could protect her. It's just not like he doesn't. It could mean she doesn't only want a caretaker or a guardian. She also wants someone who could protect her. Like there is a selection progress. If that makes sense.
What is this word? If you could explain what this word is.
Now it could mean a guardian.
A guardian. Okay.
But these two words mean to protect.
Oh,
So
okay. I see the connection.
It could mean a protector.
So that's what you're saying is
like this.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
So she could be deliberately looking for someone to protect her, not only a guardian, not only a caretaker, but a protector.
Interesting. So we have another ambiguous word that's taken place. Because in the English version we have take care of her, something specific, but in Japanese it's a guardian, right? So a protector, a guardian, etc. If I can read this, it was ma something. Magoshi. Magosha, right? Magosha. Because I can at least read hiragana, but I'm here and I'm like, I can't read that. But yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't realize that.
Sorry.
No worries. Magosha.
I'm not really sure. Yeah.
Or Mogosha, yes, and
it's
Mogosha.
Like HOGO.
Oh.
SHA.
Is this ha or ho?
Ho.
Mogosha. Okay.
Ho.
I always mix up the mas and the has. Like those. They look similar. That's why I was like, dang it, I need to remember them better. Anyways, so interesting that you point that out. That the word choices is very ambiguous in Japanese. That they use this word instead. What about this one that you pointed out here? What's this?
Which one?
The second one that's highlighted. This other text. This one. I'm circling it.
I think. Yeah. That means by accident.
By accident? For.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
She had been made first by accident.
Oh. Okay. So this one is pointing to this one. Okay. All right. That's clear.
Yes.
Got it. And then also, we also wanted to add, in terms of institution, girls' home, orphanage, war shelter, hospital, better not be cult, because we got Melinda's a cult. Immigrant camp, she's looking for a protective guardian. Yes, we agree. It's very interesting that she's seeking a guardian and stuff. You know, the way that the words are framed now, she's then moved from institution to institution, seeking someone to take care of her. Using this word choice is actually very important, and I really want to point this out in terms of English. It's making it sound like it was intentional. Ania is the one looking, not someone is placing her here because the adults are putting her here left and right. It's her running away. It's her being a problematic child for people. But when we get into it...
Frankie...
Go ahead.
Frankie also called her a problematic child later on.
Yes, that's a good point. And what's interesting is that she was returned 3 times, right? In this manga, we're gonna address this later. That she was returned multiple times, and the reason why I want to bring this up right now is because, is it intentional that she's a problem child? Because it took 3 families that returned her. Lloyd is the 4th, to pick her up, and it's interesting here because it makes it sound like Anya intentionally intentional. And I can't write the whole thing here because my keyboard or my thing is... why is it doing this? It's acting weird. I wonder what's going on with my keyboard. Come on, dude. Intentional. So, Anya is intentionally causing problems because she's looking for them. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not because the family was thinking, oh, because this whole time I was thinking, oh, they did not like her, get along with her because they saw that she was creepy or something, so they returned her. But now it just makes it feel like it's intentional. Anya did it on purpose. Oh my god, that just blew my mind. And then the way you guys are talking about how she's looking for protective guardian and the word choices here, the word choice makes it seem like Anya is looking for someone to protect her. Are the scientists still looking for her? That could be a really good, oh my god, yes, Fui, that's actually a really good, really good idea there. It's a good posit, if that's the case, that she's looking for people to protect her, like Lloyd and Yor, who are of these field, and that's why she decided to do her best, maybe with them, which is very interesting. All right, so moving on, we have listen up, little girl. It's Anya. Listen up, Anya. So we already have a small thing going on here. He calls her little girl at first because this is interesting because I feel like in the field of science, you want to distance yourself from the subject that you're talking to because you don't want attachment, right? There's a thing that we had, I mean, I thought about this too in terms of when I used to work as a nurse a long time ago. We would use full names to address the patient, right? So in a way, using the patient's full name was able to put some distance between me and my emotional attachment to that person. That's kind of how it felt like. So using the word little girl was kind of putting that distance between them. But the moment they establish a name, this is also kind of going into another tangent here. The moment you name something, there's going to be emotional attachment. There's a saying that, at least in the field of, at least in terms of discourse for languages, we had this whole debate about using the word it, right? Because it can pertain to non-living objects. So usually the word it itself is referring to non-living objects, right? However, it can also refer to animals that you have no relationship to whatsoever. So if you're gonna say the squirrel, for example, the squirrel on your tree outside, you have no relationship whatsoever, you're gonna refer to it as it, regardless, because you have distance with it. But if you care about the animal, even though you don't know what it is, you would try to find the sex of that animal. So you would refer to it as, oh yeah, that squirrel, she's up there somewhere, instead of saying it, right? Now by using pronouns as she or he, you've now decided that you have an emotional attachment to that animal. A similar case with naming someone. So the fact that Lloyd started to call her Anya, there's an establishment of an emotional attachment is going to form from here. So in a way, this is a little bit of a foreshadow. You can argue it as a foreshadow that Lloyd is going to have attachment for Anya. Why? Because Anya says, don't call me little girl, call me Anya, call me a person, care about me. It is basically what she's trying to say when she says, my name is Anya. Obviously, this is going way into deep of it. Like, I'm going way too deep into it. But this is from a literary analysis standpoint, is that once you name something, there's an emotional attachment that's going to come with it, too. Let's see here. We have Fui saying, that's why they tell you never to name an animal unless you intend to keep it. You'll get attached. That's why we have Alfredo. Lloyd is being a big softie. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. So I think you're talking about your pet, right, Fui? Your pet's name's Alfredo. And then yes, Lloyd is a big softie. I agree. I see what you mean. It's the same thing in I think in my sibling's case, that she adopted a cat from the street that just kept coming to her place. So basically the cat adopted her, it chose her. So now it has a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree too. And it's funny because these exact dialogues appear again later in the chapter, and it's clear that Anya chose Lloyd.
Yes.
And it's even funnier that you use the cat metaphor because the fans in the Japanese fan would call Anya Nyata, which we all know what Nya means.
Oh my god! So she's literally a cat. Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah.
In the beginning, or like in the first case, Spy Family's kind of the characters are all based off cats in a way. I remember reading something about it or hearing about it that Spy Family reactions, like Lloyd, Yor, and Anya, they're all kind of like based off cats. That's I've been seeing a lot of like cat images of them too on Twitter. So it's very interesting.
I've seen those threads. Yeah.
Right. Also, I wanted to ask for Moss's input on here because I dabbled a little bit on, see, with STEM. I don't know if it's STEM, if I should say. Maybe healthcare, basically. I mentioned earlier that if you were to refer someone, like you don't want to be associated to them, you would refer to them by their full name. Would you say, I don't know if that's accurate in your field, but that's how I felt when I was a nurse at the time.
I guess so. I mean, obviously, I'm stuck in the labs. I don't really tend to do patient work. However, the very minimal experience I do have, it's usually surnames only. You put emphasis on their surname because you don't know them. You're not personal enough to use their forename. So obviously, you respect their wishes. If they're like, please just call me this, then you do it. But yeah, you always introduce them to others or yourself to them with their surname.
Yes. I'm really glad we talked about that because usually it is either the surname, which is what we're addressing to someone as a title, versus if you say first name, unless that's what they wish. But usually if it was like, let's say we're having a private conversation about the Forgers, we would refer to them as the Forgers. We don't talk to them as Lloyd or Yor or Anya. We just say the Forgers because surnames. And then what else was there? There's also another reason why I believe this concept is true is because if we go back to the Mole arc, Fiona says Yuri Breyer, your forger. She doesn't say your forger, I think. She says your Breyer too? I don't know, I don't remember. But she goes by the full name, so she's putting distance by saying that she's not in any way close to them, so it's very interesting. Leona also says, I think Redacted is a big softie. Yes, I agree too. And the joke, Fui says yes, they also joke that she's a stray kitten Lloyd adopted. Very true. And Fui says that's why there's a lot of cat fan arts as them as cats, except for yours. She's a rabbit for some reason. That makes sense. The thing too I wanted to point out was whenever Endo-san makes a cameo in other mangaka's artists or drawings, you know how they draw themselves like as like these little silly comics at the very end of their series, right? Or like the chapter. Sometimes they make these little goofy, cute stuff. Endo's always drawn as a cat. So I kind of had that idea was like, okay, maybe the fact that Endo's also drawn as a cat a lot of times, maybe that could kind of motivate the direction of, Spy Family. And cats are very expressive animals, which is why people can't help but just like find joy or amusement from them, right? So it's very interesting. I kind of see all the connections are being made here with the characters and cats. But yeah, this was a very fun dive. Let's go ahead and jump to page 27. We had like such a long discussion, but that was very fun. Page 27. You'll be my child from now on, but as far as everyone else is concerned, you have always been my child. Is that clear? And interesting here, because I do want to point this out, the direction of this word. Here, she has clear, right? I don't know about the English dub. I don't know if she says I understand. They use maybe a different word. But in the Japanese dub, I always refer to the Japanese dub as the canon, the canonical reference. So she says we. Remember, she says we.
He said yes.
Yes. And then go ahead, Anya. I feel like you have something to add because you even highlighted the word, or why do I keep saying highlight? Sorry. You underlined the word always.
I think always. I think originally, Endo uses moto, which means from the beginning.
Humble beginning.
I think originally, from the beginning, or originally.
Oh, okay.
So it has a slight difference in it. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's interesting. Word choices are always interesting to dive into because it makes you really, again, it makes you question, like, okay, why did they use this word, or why this word in particular? Why did we divert away from what's presented in front of us? I always like to look at those words in terms of transcriptions and translation comparison. Is like, why use this word? That's into the field of linguistics, though. My bad. Anyways, so she usually says clear, and then this is the word you're saying, right?
Yes.
And then feel free to highlight that just in case I can't really see it. Thank you. Yeah, so you said I can at least read this part. I'm just so happy I can read hiragana. I'll eventually make my way to understanding kanji. But anyways, yeah, moto moto. And is that clear? Yep. Okay. And you said basically this means original, right?
Or from the beginning.
Or from the beginning. Come on, tablet, don't fail me now. From the beginning.
And I find it quite interesting because
Yes.
Lloyd asked, "Is that clear?" And then Anya said, "Clear," which kind of seems very normal to me, if that makes sense. Because, but in both Japanese version or the Chinese version, it seems to me it's like a more casual kind of response.
A special response?
Casual.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's like, is that clear? And I'm like, yeah. It's more like, yes, or yeah, more than like clear, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
The response.
The response. Okay, that there's something you're pointing out to me because I'm trying to see this from a linguistic glance as well. I also want to analyze the way that Lloyd speaks here. His tone when he speaks is very formal, right? It also has that tone. Like, even the question, is that clear, feels very formal register. Yeah. Again, I wish I had a word to call this, but it's that reporting voice, I like to call it, or something. Formal report voice.
Yeah.
Like, it's the voice that I mentioned in the previous podcast where I'm like, oh, the way he reports is like a soldier, right? He's from a field, he's being a soldier, whatever. You'll be my child from now on, but as far as everyone else is concerned, you have always been my child. It sounds like a kind of reporting voice. It's very devoid of human affection, I guess you could say. You see what I'm saying? It's like kind of cold. That's what I wanted to say. It sounds really cold, doesn't have any affection in the way he speaks. Is that clear? And then she says clear. Yeah. So it's just very interesting because I see it as formal, but then you said this one sounds like moto is casual, is what you said, right?
No, I mean, sorry. My cat stepping on my computer.
No! Your cat deleted the background.
It's always a cat cameo. I love this.
No! Okay, Anya, press the back button. On the top of the screen, there's an arrow. Press that, and he'll come back.
Okay. Is it done?
No, I don't see it.
No, it's not done.
I can't do it because it wasn't me who did that.
I'm back. What is happening?
Your cat! Oh no! I can't see it, and we can't see it anymore.
Oh, here. We have it.
Is it back? Yeah!
It's purring. Can you hear
That
him?
was incredible.
We had a
He's
cat
very
problem.
proud of himself.
That's so funny. I can't. I can't believe that happened. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Cat behavior.
I'm sorry.
No, don't say. Oh, that's so cute. Your cat just did that. Your cat's Chimera-san, it's causing chaos right now in the middle of our stream. That's so funny. But anyways, thank you, cat. What was your cat's name?
He has some Cantonese name. His name is Kuya.
Kuya.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I'm saying correctly.
Well, just see it as a kind of French cheese, Kuya.
Kuya.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it sounds like a Filipino word. We would say kuya, like older brother. That's
Really?
yeah, Kuya. Kuya. That's when we refer older brother. It's so interesting that you say it like that. I was like, huh, sounds like kuya. Okay. I'm probably gonna forever mispronounce it because I know Cantonese is very particular, or the Chinese languages in particular, in general, are very tonal sensitive. So I'm probably never gonna pronounce it correctly. I apologize.
But it's close enough.
Close enough. Okay. I'll use my Tagalog
Yeah.
accent. Kuya. Thank you, Kuya, for that entertainment. It's very funny. Also, I want to point out what Fui said. One thing I do want to point out is I kept thinking about the rabbit comment about why Yor looks is a rabbit is because the way she's kind of docile in the beginning, especially when we meet her for the first time, she's very quiet, but being shy doesn't always mean that you are, being reserved doesn't also always mean that you're shy. That's something I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people who are quiet tend to be over analyzing people, and also I do have a pet rabbit, so I can speak from experience how rabbit behavior works. You're being portrayed as a rabbit is just trying to see okay, she's docile, she's domestic for sure, she's demure, all of the words there. But it's also because her hair, the way it's styled, it looks like long ears. Like if you've heard of lop bunnies, I'm gonna even show it to you guys. That's why she's always considered a not lop bunny from what is it, lop bunny? I'm thinking Pokemon for some reason. There's a bunny with long ears. There's a word for it. Hang down, science name. There was a name for it. Lop rabbit, that's it. That's where it came from. Okay, we have the scientific word Oricotaglagus cuniculus. I can't even pronounce it correctly. Moss, say it better than me.
Okay, give me just a second.
It's on the screen.
Erictolagus cuniculus?
Yes, thank you. I will always butcher the name, the pronunciation in Latin, so I'd rather have an actual scientist say it, not me.
Yeah, my Latin is actually not the strongest. I think the most I've ever done it for is unfortunately fish.
No, it's fine though, because I feel like you would read more Latin words and you're used to it in terms of at least. We can always put pronunciation up to debate, but I would say for me, I stutter more whenever I read it. I'm like, what the hell am I reading? You can hear the way I'm saying it. Orictolagus cuniculus. It's like I'm not used to it. Whereas Moss said it so fluidly, so fast. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, let's get the scientist to say it, not me. But yes, the English lop is a breed of rabbit with long ears that hang down. And I can see why people refer to Yor as a rabbit is because of that. Her front hair is usually framed that way, so it makes it look like she has long ears. And also her mannerism is similar to that of a rabbit, that they're almost always, or well, maybe I should say always, they're always misinterpreted as shy animals. But rabbits have different animals. Like for example, my rabbit, Jack, short for Jackass because he lives up to that name. He's a mischievous little rabbit. He's curious. He will bite things and ruin your clothes, especially if it's leather. He has many leather jacket victims. A lot of them, the sleeves are already bit off because of my rabbit. So rabbits are actually very they're playful, they're mischievous. Some of them are very good. Jack is not good. No, he's good. But that's what I'm saying, is that a lot of times there's just the impression of looking at a rabbit, you just have this feeling okay, this rabbit doesn't do anything, there's no personality to it because it's always seen as docile or kind of keeping to itself. I learned from my first rabbit, which his name was Pebbles. Pebbles was always caged, so we never got an understanding of his personality. So Poor Pebbles was always in a cage, but for Jack, Jack is a free roam rabbit, so he can go anywhere in this house. Like, he's always free roam in my room, he's free roam in the living room. That's why we were able to understand his personality, is that he's actually very mischievous, you know? So I kind of see why Yor is kind of perceived as a rabbit, is kind of in that sense. She's caged up under the impression that she has to live up to those restrictions as a woman in the society, and the way that she kind of looks more like a rabbit could be alluding to that, is that people think that she's demure, they think she's, the way she presents herself, she's very mysterious because she doesn't talk much, but in reality, since we got to know her through the manga, we learned that Yor is actually quite mischievous as a person herself. She's an assassin, first and foremost. She's silly. She's not a perfect person, the ideal woman in Astania per se, in that context. So you can see, I see why she would be referenced to a rabbit a lot. So I see that connection. Also, Fui posted a picture of there's a cat. Oh, cat Anya. I see what you're saying. And then there's Agent Pengi in the background, and also Chimera-san there too, and the peanuts. Very interesting. Thank you, Fui, for that. And sorry, Discord lag. That's funny. That's funny and cute. Anyways, we'll go back to the main point. A lot of tangential comments today. Apologies. We have, you are to address me as father. Okay, same thing. His word choice as well. Very cold again. You are to address me as father, as the elites do. So go ahead, Moss. You highlighted this one.
So, I just noticed that this is obviously like the first time he really ever mentions his brief, like from Wise, like his job description. Because if you go back, you can read in the description where they're talking about how the students that will go to Eden are like the sons and daughters of the elite and the politicians, and it's him bringing forward his brief, his description that he has to work on. It's like the first time that he's kind of using that in a way, you know, like obviously like he's always got his job in the back of his mind because he's a spy, he has to.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the first time he's kind of really telling himself that he has to follow that description.
I see. So yes, yeah. I'm really glad you said the word brief. I was looking for that word. I was like, what tone is this called? It's briefing. That's the tone. I'm like, damn it. My brain, I have a lot of like brain fog moments, so I can't remember a lot of words. So yes, thank you. I agree with what you said. So at the end of the day, he's always talking about or he's always in spy mode, right? So this is one of the first and last times we see Lloyd having a brief tone, like a briefing tone with Anya. In terms of, you address me as father and as elites do, I wonder, whenever I see those small text, is he referring that to the person he's talking to as a sarcasm, aside for himself, etc.? I always wonder, because sometimes I do, when I read other mangas, they would have, okay, this is the main dialogue, and then they would have a tiny dialogue. Is this in reference to him? Like talking to himself, or is he referencing it to her? That's the question.
I feel like in the first episode we discussed this as well, and at the time we kind of came to like a similar conclusion that it's for himself. He's talking or thinking about it to himself, but obviously this is in the speech bubble, so it's probably like his mind running at the same time as him speaking.
That's a good point. I actually really like that you pointed out. It's in the bubble, not outside where he's thinking. In here, it's part of the speech, so it's an aside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anya. What did you say?
I also think that sometimes it could be just like something additional to what he wants to say. Just like Moses pointed out, because he needs her to call her certain thing, according to the Japanese honorifics. Because I think both Japanese and Korean languages, they would have certain languages to identify the social class, the social group, and also what position you're in. So for them to appear to become to be a part of the elite class is to call him a certain thing, so that people hear it and people would immediately identify them. as a
Oh,
certain relationship and a certain class.
and this is referring to honorific, right? The ones you mentioned here?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
What is the word in that you brought up here?
I think I think yeah he he, he wants Anya to call her Otosama.
Oh, otosama. Okay.
So yeah, so it's something about, because we all know Sama is already a level upper than San, but Otosan is what we normally hear in Japanese dramas or um in anime.
That
But
makes sense.
here he wants, yeah. But later on we would hear sorry. Later we would hear Damien. Sorry, I forgot his name for a minute.
For
Sorry.
a second. Yeah.
Damien would call his father Chichiue,
Oh.
which I pronounce it in a very strange way, but it's even a more higher class way of saying. It's a very rare way to say father nowadays, but it's a very noble class thing to say that for Damien. So we could see, like, from different ways to call father, like the class.
That makes sense.
And also Becky calls her father Papa, which is like a more modern way to call
Oh my god.
a father.
Okay. I'm gonna dive into this because, like, I'm getting linguistically, like, what's the word for it? Like, I want to say linguistically triggered. Like, I'm getting really excited for this. So yeah, I'm gonna jump into that because that's really important. I like that you pointed that out. So we know in Japanese we have different ways of saying father, right? One to refer as your personal father and one to refer as someone else's father. That's the first one I
Yes.
want to talk about. Oto-sama. When you say the word oto, that means father of someone else's, not your blood-related father. Is that correct? Right?
I don't think so. I think Chichi is the one you call
Yes.
father's father.
Yes. No, Chichi is you. It's referring to your dad,
No,
right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Chichi is my own dad.
Yeah, my dad. Yeah, my particular dad.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to explain this in English because we use the word dad, right? The only way we can differentiate is dad and father. Those are the two words we have in English. Father. And it's kind of hard to explain this linguistically if we don't have different fields. Is what I don't know how to describe it, but in linguistics, different languages have different words of you. Like, we have different words because they have a particular meta explanation for them, meta definition. So the word oto-sama, oto versus chichi, that's the most important thing we should establish first, is that in Japanese, we have chichi and oto, right? I'm gonna take off this ending, the reference, sorry, I can't even talk anymore. The affix, the suffix, that's the word I was looking for. Chichi and oto, we're just gonna focus on the first part. Chichi is referring to your dad, like, I mean, the person who gave birth, like, basically he's responsible for your birth, right? Your blood-related father, your father. Yes, Chichi. Oto-sama is sorry.
I think it's more like Otosama or Otosan is how I call my own father. It's kind of like how I call my father. A Chichi is how I refer to my father in front of others.
That's what I was thinking. Yes, that's what I meant. Okay. When we are talking to an audience of people, right? To differentiate and confuse the confusion, because in terms of English, you know the word that I just said, your dad? Does that mean you? Or am I saying it in a very general terminology of your dad, like everyone's dad in this podcast, or even the listeners who's listening on this? It's very ambiguous, right? That's what I'm trying to say, is that by using the word your dad sounds very ambiguous. We don't have an identification of who we're talking to, or dad in general. That's what they did in Japanese, is that we have chichi and oto because they have those differentiations. So when you're saying my dad, you say chichi, chichi referring to my dad, like my specific relationship to this person, if that's my understanding, right? Am I on the right path?
I think you have the right path on Chichi, but
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure about Otto because this is the exact I'm copying it from
Yeah.
Japanese dictionary. So this is what the definition of Otto, whether it's san or sama, means.
Okay.
I'm just going to add an effect on it.
Okay. Thank you.
So it kind of like there's still something to refer to your own dad, but you're speaking directly to the dad, if that makes sense.
For Chichi or Oto-san?
Otto.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So yeah, that's the
He
nuances.
is Otto.
Okay. So yeah, that's the nuances where I'm kind of lacking in that understanding, because I know there's a difference between the two words. It's just the moment you start applying it to different environments, that's what we call it in linguistic. Environments meaning, are you talking to the dad himself that you're calling him Chichi or Oto-sama? Or are you using that in the environment of talking to friends? Because that affects how you say certain words.
Yeah. I think Chichi is it's like you refer to your dad, but you're not talking to him, you're talking to other people while referring to your dad. Well,
Okay.
Oto-sama or Oto-sama, it's more like I'm referring to my dad while I'm speaking to him.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, now that's clarified for me. So yeah, it's the environment that was throwing me off. I thought it was a general thing. Anya uses Chi-Chi out of context, but it's funny because she's still young. Okay, that makes sense. That's why a lot of the Japanese people are always saying, like, you know, Anya's misuse of Chi-Chi is not correct, but it's adorable because of course she's young. So that makes sense. I see what you're saying here. So if you were to call your dad Chi-Chi in his presence, it would be more perceived as a formal stance, like, because I'm drawing from Damien's example. He calls his father Chichue, right? So
Yes.
if you talk to your dad and you say Chichue, does that show distance in relationship?
I think it's a way to talk to your father when you are noble.
When you are noble, okay. And then what would happen if Damien were to call his dad Oto-sama? What's the difference that takes place? Is there intimacy established? Like, are they closer? Is what I'm trying to say.
I would say Chichihue, it's more like a more respectful way because it's like it's higher in the honorifics.
Okay, and then
if that makes sense.
no, that makes sense because basically what's going on in my head right now is I'm making a hierarchy.
Yes.
The hierarchy in my head is Chi-Chi is very formal. It's at the top.
I think the thing is, if you look at in the kanji way,
Yeah.
Otosa, to has the same kanji as Chichi. So this what I mean is this word, this kanji word. When you say Otosa,
Mm-hmm.
or if you say titi, it's the same word.
Oh, so
Like otosan, the to is this kanji, and titi is this. When you write titi, it's also this kanji. This kanji means father.
this one is father up here.
Titi, just titi, the first word, the first kanji, this one.
Oh, okay,
This
this myself. Okay.
So if you say otosan, to, would be this kanji. If you say titi, it's also this kanji. The next titi ue, the next ue means upper or higher.
I see.
I'm not really sure if I'm making sense, but I'm trying.
No worries. I'm trying to break it down to my understanding too, because I'm seeing it from a very, very linguistic sense. That chichue, right? We're kind of hung up on.
Chichi means father.
Okay.
Ue means upper, right?
Upper right. Okay.
No, it means upper. It means higher.
Yeah. And then okay.
So you can see why it's high if there's a hierarchy, chichiue would be higher.
Yes.
Because you can see that basically linguistically it's placing chichi in a higher status, like the chichi who is high up.
Yeah.
Or the chichi of a higher status.
Yes. And that makes sense because I mean even the word ue at the end, chichue, is the highest, right? So the honorifics is just it's like re-establishing the highest point here.
But we have, I think it should also be noted that no one really calls their father chichue at this point.
Not unless
like,
you respect
in this time and age. Not even if you respect it.
Really?
It's a very old saying, chichue.
I see. So basically kind of like, archaic in a sense.
Yeah, it's a little bit archaic. Like normal people wouldn't call their father chichue. I don't believe so. Or unless you're like, yeah, I'm reading this manga and I'm just jokingly calling my father chichue.
Oh,
or if you really are from a noble family. But to be honest, even when I say Becky calls her father Papa, actually even the princess of the Japanese emperor calls her father Papa.
No, that makes
sense. From the videos we see, not chichue. So
I see.
So we can. So chichue is kind of like very archaic, and it's kind of like no one really using. No one's using it now, unless you're that pretentious. I don't know. I'm sorry.
No.
If you really call your father chichue.
No, I'm really glad that you explained it in depth with me because we can see if the word is in existence or modernized to this day, if it's still applicable or not. But I'm seeing an organization. So again, the way I'm organizing in my head is relationship. The higher it is, the more formal, the more distant. I'm seeing that otosan is basically modern day. It sounds formal to me, kind of, but then it's also casual, kind of. It's a general word that people use referring to dads. Papa is very informal.
Papa is informal and it's more than two. It's like a more endearing way to call a father. But otosan is two. But if you break it out, it's a otosan, like a son.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this general, respectful way of saying things.
Right, because the son is telling you that it's the honorific of son, the suffix, is telling you that it is a person that you respect. Because son is the respectful honorific suffix, whatever you want to call it. But in any case, that's the reason why I wanted to highlight this, is because, again, at the very top, you're cold and distant. You know, I shouldn't say cold. You're distant from in terms of relationship. That's what
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
think
wanted to
summer
highlight.
is quite distanced. Yeah,
Yes.
summer is more distanced than, or more respectful.
Yes.
I think with in terms of if you're being more respectful to someone, in some sense you're more distant to them as well.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes, that is correct. I remember because I took this class in my undergrad program. We had a thing called, I can't even remember the name of the class, but it was a literature analysis class. And I remember reading the book about it, and it was very meta, super, super meta, because it was a very dry book, but it was so informative. It was telling me the way we use words, we subconsciously attach our relationship to them, which is what I'm trying to explain here. When you say chichi, ue, not only are you being respectful for it, but at the same time, the tone that you're sharing is distance. You're not close to them whatsoever. You have a distant relationship. Otosan, if you say that, you have a casual relationship with them. Otosan is actually seen as the more general terminology. It's also respectful when referring to them. So in a way, Otosan and Papa can technically be interchanged with each other in terms of Japanese discourse when referring to a father. But Papa is more very informal because, again, even in English, when we use the word Papa, I would say that's very, very informal. You know, it's basically, Papa is in English, I'm going to use English here as the language. Papa equals daddy. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very informal,
In
it's
fact,
very kid-like.
In fact, yeah, I think there is another way of saying Oto's father, but more endearing way.
Yeah.
But I don't really hear a lot of people saying that, but I think it could be, which is Oto-chan.
Oto-chan. I hear that as like a teasing between friends. Like, for example, I've heard it in an anime where they would tease you as a dad, right? So, but the person's not your child. It's basically your colleague. It's like, oh yeah, take good care of me, huh, dad? And it's like your friend saying that. They're like, hey, don't call me dad. You're not my child. You know, like they're teasing and stuff. That's when I would hear the word Oto-chan, being like playful on that.
But you could hear the hierarchy by Sama, San, and Chan.
Yes.
Right?
So yes, honorific wise, we were talking about the hierarchy. I'm gonna write it up here. We have Sama at the top. Like you really respect them. Sama is like, the way I kind of understood it was when you hear the word Sama, it's like someone who equivalates himself to God in a way. Basically they're very high up there, prestigious, whatever. Super, super respectful. San is the respectful default one. And then the last one would be Chan or Kun. Right? This is like informal.
I would like to talk about Kun, but I think I'm going to talk about it when Be Honest.
Yeah.
Hit, because we seldom see the Kun in this manga. And it is a very curious way why Twilight calls Nightfall Kun.
Yes, we can talk about that at when we get there.
Kun,
Yeah.
I think the thing about Kun is that Kun can mean closeness.
Yes.
But I don't think it means closeness when it comes to the relationship between Twilight and Nightfall.
I see what you're saying, because you can use the word Chan and Kun as to show closeness with someone, kind of. It doesn't mean in a very affectionate way, not always.
Chan almost always means affectionate, I think.
It's what? I'm sorry?
But Chan is more close. Like if you use Chan, it's more like chances is that. Sorry for the very. I don't mean it as a pun, but Chan, it's like it usually means closeness, but Kun, it doesn't always mean closeness.
I know what you say.
Married.
No, that makes sense. I get it. I see it as a friend zone term. Like you're the friend in the friend. You're the interest in the friend zone. That's the way I want to say it, because I've seen female names have the attachment kun, kun is meant for men, just so everyone understands. Chan is usually named for a female. So if you say Scarlet, it's gonna be Scarlet Chan, right? Not Scarlet Kun. You don't, because Scarlet is feminine, Chan is the feminine word. Kun is for men or male names, masculine. So if you say like Lloyd, it's gonna be Lloyd Kun, for example.
I think kun also indicate. I think what I want to say is that kun also indicates a hierarchy, unless it's two male friends talking to each other. And I think kun is something quite interesting in terms of the period the story is set in, because I think it could be linked with feminism at that time. Feminism at the time. But maybe I'll talk about it when Nightfall is out.
Yes.
But kun, I think, when you talk about masculinity, it is curious. That I think that is exactly why Twilight chose to address Nightfall as kun.
I see
because it's masculine.
That, and also I see it as, again, friend zoning the person.
No, I don't think it's friend zoning. It's more like respect. Because when I'm just going to very briefly talk about it now. It is a way to friend zone it, yes, but it's more like respecting, because at the time, another example people would use kun to address female is when a teacher address female students, especially in universities, because it's a new thing for female students to be in university, and in order to raise their status, to make them sound as equal as the male student, the higher ups would call the students or their subordinates kun. So this is a way to show respect as well.
That's what I'm trying to indicate here in terms of relationship, is that I'm not taking kun as literally see it as a friend zone, but I get it. It's in terms of relationship respect, because I know Twilight refers to Fiona as kun, Fiona Kun, showing that, okay, I respect you, we are on equal levels. And I like that you brought up the history that kun was because women started to go into college, and then that's why a lot of the teachers would refer to females as kun. Fui actually said that. I've seen teachers call Anya Forger kun.
But I don't think it's equal, because there's a hierarchy between teachers and students.
What I'm trying to say is there is equal in terms of they try to equal kun as, okay, you're kind of the same field as the male students because you're now a student. That's what I'm trying to establish there. Like, kun is a very respectful title. I'm trying to say it in a meta way, like they're trying to make it inclusive is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
But I guess so the thing I still disagree is that I think it still indicates a hierarchy between the person who calls kun and the kun themselves, if that makes sense. It's I understand what you mean also, because I think in a lot of for example, if you go to videos where the voice actors talk to each other, even if they're like of the same hierarchy, they will still call each other kun. But this instance is different from a teacher calling a student kun, if that makes sense.
Yes, I know what you're trying to say, because that's the thing about words and languages, is that you have to think about the different application for that word. It's like, what are the definitions? How are they being applied? What environment triggers them? It can go on and so forth. So, but basically the whole point is with Chan and kun is very informal. And of course, they have different meanings based on the context, should always be most important because that indicates which definition is being established here. And
I don't think, but the thing is, I don't think kun is informal. I don't think kun is as informal as you think.
I don't.
The thing is this.
I just think it's more informal than saying sun. Sun is more formal. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't. I don't think so because kun, if in under certain hierarchy, it still can be formal. It just indicates a hierarchy. Of course, kun can be used in very informal instances, but if I think if like for example, if Frankie calls Lloyd kun, it is informal. It could be informal, but when Henderson calls Anya kun, or when
environment is triggered.
Twilight calls Nightfall kun,
yeah,
it is formal. It is not as informal as you think. But I agree in a sense that it I don't think it's informal. I don't think it's about formalness when Henderson calls Anya kun, if that makes sense.
Okay, I know what you're trying to say.
I think
it's a different a different relationship right there. So it's a different.
Yes. So I think kun can be used both formally and informally. So formality might not be the key in this one. So we have to see what circumstance it is used. But it doesn't. It might not be like automatically informal.
Okay, I can see what you're saying. So that makes sense. Because that's also important because a lot of the times we gloss things over very quickly. We always have one establishment, but linguistics teaches, or at least taught me, that the way we use words, certain words, are not the same. It just, again, you highlighted an important factor, which is the context is always important. An educator who calls you kun is not the same as a friend who calls a male to male friend calling you kun. They're different reasons for that. So I can see what you mean by hierarchy. It's contextual, what I'm trying to say. But yeah, in any case, we'll come back to the main point here because we kind of went on a tangent there. In any case, we talked about, we had sama, san, chan, kun, depending on context, of course. We already mentioned that. But this is kind of like a general idea. I'm just gonna ignore the specifics for the time being. And then none being like you're very close to the person. Like, for example, I know in Japanese, when you get really, really close to an intimate partner, you drop even the suffix. You would just call them by their name. First name.
I would politely disagree with that again. Sorry.
Because some people don't. I know what you mean.
No, I mean, none could mean two ways, two very different ways. One is like when they're very close. Or the other is that when they have no relationship with each other.
Oh, okay. Okay, I can see what you're saying.
For example, when you've raised the example where Twilight called Yuri prior, but you're yours.
Yes.
There's nothing behind Yuri prior, but it doesn't indicate closeness. It could indicate other things like maybe he sees Yuri prior merely as a target, like a total objectification, or it could mean rudeness.
What I wanted to add on to that was he says Yuri Breyer full name. What I'm saying when I say none, it could be like, for example, Yuri. Just say Yuri. Don't say Yuri-kun, don't say Yuri-san. That's what I'm trying to say. But when Lloyd refers to Yuri, he always says his last name, full name, Yuri Breyer, like a target. He never calls him just Yuri.
Yeah.
But
I guess that is the thing. That is the thing. I think that is why Japanese is difficult because I think none behind could mean two things. Either it means closeness, it means utter endearment, or it means absolute rudeness.
That makes sense. Okay.
Because if you add san or chan, there is a tiny bit of endearment, or at least there is respect in it. But when there's none, it could mean, yeah, we're really close, that we don't need that anymore. Or I don't see you as someone that I respect. That means we're not.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, but we'll save that topic for another time. We'll try our best to move on with the story as best as we can over here. So sorry for this very, very long tangential debate on like how the hierarchy and how it works. But anyways, coming back to why we were having this whole discussion is because we were trying to identify like why is Papa the decision here, because basically Lloyd wants Anya to refer to him as Oto-san. Is that correct? That's what he said in the Japanese one.
Sorry?
Lloyd told Anya to call him Oto-san. Is that correct?
No. He told her to call him Oto-sama.
Oh, Oto-sama. Okay. Yeah. So we have Oto, kind of like the middle word here, plus Sama being the higher rank of here in terms of suffix. That's what I'm trying to show. Call him Oto-sama, you know? But Anya says, I'm not going to call you that. I'm going to call you Papa. Like, she wants her word choice here, which is why we're having this whole conversation. Why did she use the word Papa? Is because she wants to establish that closeness. She chose this person. Like, you're my dad. I'm going to call you Papa. So...
No, she called him Titi.
I'm talking about the English one, though.
Yeah.
But in the Japanese, we're talking about Chichi. I understand what you're trying to say. But what I'm saying is, in terms of English, choosing that informal stance is showing that she wants a relationship with her dad. It's just hard for me to identify if that's the correct one in terms of Japanese, because since we said Chichi's at the very top, she calls him Chichi because she respects him in Japanese, but she uses it in a very incorrect manner, in a sense. So it just makes me wonder if she's just like, yeah, I don't know. My brain is getting fried over this. But
I am thinking that there's a possibility that she calls him Titi because she knows he wants it he wants it to be formal, and Chichi is something that is quite formal.
Yeah.
In the sense that if you introduce your father to, or if you refer your father to other people, you use this word, or you use this term. So it has to be formal enough to use this term.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
That's a hard part. Yeah.
Yeah, but then she's wrong about it.
Yes.
Things would be easier in English, I agree.
Yes, that's why it's really hard to explain this, because it's like, okay, English says Papa, so you can see there's already a problem going on here. The Japanese says Chichi, the English says Papa, so there's already a I don't know what to call it. Like there's already a problem here in trying to explain it. But yes, I guess we can move on. We do have another 10 minutes left because we did talk so much about linguistic. This podcast is all about linguistics for the most part for today. That's okay. You're good. Anyways, Fui said Chichiwe says like a very formal way to say father, like Chichi's my father. Anya is basically saying my father helped me, my father, my mother, I'm home. To mention of her biological mother, she says mama, which is more normal. Anya uses the Chichi out of context, but it's funny because she's still young. He also says Melinda, referring to Damien, referring to his mom, Hahawe. Yet he says Aniki for older brother, which is more closer and intimate, like they're close. And I can see that a little because Demetrius never outright ignores him. He makes sure to answer him and do as he asks within reason. So Fui, a bit more formal for older brother is Nisan. And Becky says Anya-chan, for the example we were talking about, and I've even seen teachers call Anya Forger-kun. I've heard Henderson even say Forger-kun too. So I know that one. Yeah. But anyways, we'll finish that conversation and move on to basically after they established their relationship, we go to this segment here. Oh, what an adorable young lady. Hello, dear. We're the Forgers. We just moved in today. we have Anya saying, "I'm Anya, and I've always been Papa's child." And she says, "You don't say that part. Let's go to our apartment." And I think this is kind of funny, because in a sense, it sounds like, you know, I think there's humor in these two words, because here he says, "You address me as father, as elites do." You don't talk that way to a child. That's funny. You know, that's kind of funny. Same thing here. I'm Anya, and I have always been Papa's child. You don't say that part. I just feel like this is humor on words. Word choice is just a tone. You don't talk that way to a child. You don't talk that way to a stranger. That's just humor for me in terms of that. But I guess we already established that. They introduced themselves to who they assume would be their neighbor. We saw the next page, which is their home. And Anya says, "My home." And you circled that. Is there a reason why you decided to indicate that, Anya?
Yep. Because later Andrew would come back. In the interview. When Lloyd asked her where do you live, or the address of Anya's address, and she would say Anya's home.
Yeah.
So I just find it funny that they come back to the later on.
That's very interesting.
Like, this is a confirmation.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
No, I agree with that, and that's also really important because again, another linguistic nuance I want to point out. Do you guys have a different feeling when you say my house versus my home?
Yes.
What do you feel, Moss?
So basically, because like obviously as I explained before, I'm a military child. House was always very impersonal. It was always somewhere I had just gone to or somewhere I didn't like specifically. But home is like a feeling in a way. It's like has like that sense of safety, whereas like a house is just a place, you know.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight, and also it connects with what Anya was saying, that Anya's home, she says home, you know. Home is such a strong word because it's like, also, I feel exactly the same way as Moss. With home, it feels safe. There is an attachment to it. This is actually quite clear to me too, because when I used to live in Indonesia for 6 months, I used to say my home or my apartment, my house. At some point, I think it was after the 3-month mark, I would say my home, because it was just showing a gradual attachment to the place that I temporarily lived in, you know? So whenever you say something is home, it's very personal, very, I'm gonna attach my feelings to it. So the fact that Anya says, this is Anya's home, or my home, she's trying to make an establishment of an environment that's safe for her. That's why it's important to highlight that word home versus saying Anya's house by saying like, oh, it's just a place that I return to. There's nothing there, you know? Something Fui mentioned is, this is my house. I own this house. This is home. It's where my family lives. This is home. It's safety. Yes, that is correct. I think Leona wants to add on to it. I'll read it once you post it. But yeah, those are the nuances of, like, you know, gotta love linguistics. In terms of that, like, we really read into the word and what their purposes are. We have, okay, what else did you want to point out, Anya?
Oh, I'm just trying to say that the word Anya used is Anyanchi. If you remember the whole the anime, like Anyanchi, something like that. So I'm just trying to copy and paste what is defined in a Japanese dictionary that refers to what you belong to.
Oh, there, I see.
So I think this is the start of that. Like, it also indicates that, like, it could also written as house, like but
Mm-hmm.
usually we don't use um uh, my brain is starting to tell.
No
Um,
worries.
usually we refer to that kanji as ie, which is like a building, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when pronounced this way, it means um it heavily indicates the meaning of family.
Okay, that's really interesting that you point that out. So it's the definition that you provided with the text you wrote up here, right? Is that my understanding?
Yes, like
Okay.
my home. Actually, in the Japanese version, it's Anya's home,
Yeah.
or in a more literal translation would be, is it Anya's home?
Yeah.
This is Anya's home, kind of like that.
I see. That's so
So,
interesting. Yeah, like she has
um,
attachment already. Runa's house. Interesting. Yeah, I just think it's really interesting. Again, it's so frustrating for me because I wish I had the lens and understanding of Japanese. It's just really hard for me to find that connection when I don't know the language. That's why I always feel frustrated. I'm like, I wish I understood it really well, but I don't. So, but it's always very interesting to hear your perspective and understanding to clarify stuff. So don't worry, I wasn't upset or angry or anything. I was just frustrated in terms of my lacking, if that makes sense. It was just like, gosh. But anyways.
No, yeah, I just hope that I don't come off as rude.
No, it's fine. No, you're fine. I feel like you're giving so much valuable information. For me, it's just piecing whatever I learned from you and together, and it's a good frustration feeling for me. It's like I like feeling frustrated if it's for good reasons. Like, I really want to get it, but I don't. It's so but yeah, it's good. Anyways.
And I also want to add,
Yeah.
but I can't resist it. But in chapter 109, actually, Lloyd says when he refers to when he refers you as his wife, he uses the same term.
Oh, home?
Yeah. It is the second definition. Also written as house, my husband and wife. I'll do it like if I want to refer to my wife at my home, like this is the same term he uses.
Oh, okay, intimacy. I see you, spicy, Twior.
and it's I think it's a little bit more intimate than just my wife. It's like my wife. Yeah, it's the same term. It's like it refers to family as well, and it's the first time, and that's why I saw a lot of Japanese fans gushing over it.
Yes, I remember that blew up. I remember that discourse or conversation blew up because Lloyd started to refer to Yor more intimately in word choices. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why people would
and this is the same term used here, like
used here.
Anya's home.
Oh. So there's okay, so it's really cute because when you point that out, that means Anya really established it, and it's connecting to what Leona said about the TV. She says, I like that one of the first things she experiences in her new home is her favorite show, her comfort show. So yeah, she's quickly associating Lloyd is the person she wants as her protector, her guardian. And then and then using the word choice, my home shows intimacy already. She wants attachment to this family. And then she says TV.
And also my favorite.
And also her favorite TV show, yeah, Spy Wars. So, TV, if you turn it on, you can turn it on if you like. Today's animated adventure Spy Wars, my favorite of all the shows. Tada! And it's funny because it's humorous in terms of course, if we were to just see it from a general lens, this is very humorous. That's the first layer that we will see. The impression of spy and spy. It's so funny. Since we are diving into really I can't even remember the words. My god, I think it's just because I'm sleep deprived or something. That we're really diving into the nuances and dissecting basically per I wouldn't say chapter, per panel and stuff, we're really looking into like the meta, like into making Spy Family in that sense. The fact that we are talking about that Anya innocently and humorously points out Spy Wars is her favorite in her first home, it's actually much deeper than we think. It's showing that she really wants this family to happen, you know? She has attachment, choosing words like home, using the word papa, showing her favorite TV show. These are all reinforcing that Anya has selected. This is her guardian. This is who she wants to be attached and wants to keep. And that's why Anya works very hard, and we see it in Eden, that even though she struggles as an academic student, she is doing her utmost best just so she could please her guardian, her parent, Lloyd, and Yor. I think more so that's why the whole pressure with Anya is like she always wants to impress Lloyd because he's the one who's, at least in her mind, is like, okay, he's the one who initiated the family. He's kind of the glue from her perspective, but in reality, seeing it as combining all the forgers in the picture, essentially it's Anya who's the glue, who's keeping it going. She's continuing what's been started by Lloyd or Twilight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's been a good. Let me check the time right now. It's been 2 hours. Ladies, how are we all feeling?
Good, yeah. I think we've done quite a lot.
When Anya is on the street, we can finish this page. I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah. Okay. So we can keep going just a little bit more, and then we'll conclude this stream then. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure everyone was okay. Leona and Fuis as well, because I'm also checking in on you guys. You guys are doing good. Not just Anya and Moss as well. Just making sure everyone's fine. It's been a good 2 hours. All good. Okay. Glad to hear it. All right. So we have scrolling down here. You've got a silenced pistol. Are you some kind of pro? Okay. You circled this. Why Anya?
I think it's very interesting. Like, it shows the contrast between Twilight and Anya. Anya thinks having a silenced pistol shows that you are some kind of pro, while Twilight, in his head, doing real spy job, is thinking about ID papers, forged ID papers, other things that seems very normal for a normal person, but not a gadget. If that makes sense, like it shows the contrast over the different perception of the same job.
Right. Like, I like that. Oh, I love that you point this out too. Yes. Oh my god. That is such a good point. Like, there is like the two worlds of the same field. Spy, like, you think spy is all action, silence pistol, very fun, all action stuff, but then there's a dichotomy, I guess, if that's the right word I should say here. There's paperwork too. Like, yes, you can kick ass and have fun, or it sounds cool. I don't mean fun, sorry. That's probably not the right word to say. Your life is on the line for that. But also paperwork, as we all discussed.
And the boring stuff.
And the what, I'm sorry?
The boring stuff.
The boring stuff, yes. The boring stuff, paperwork, boring stuff. All of that is still within the field of spies, you know? You still have to do paperwork, even though you're out there kicking butt and risking your life and making things happen. I'm curious, Leona, feel free to keep typing. I'm curious about what you want to add. But yeah, it's very important there. Oh, also I wanted to point out something. I forgot to point this out in our conversation. If we can go back to the last page, and I do want to highlight this, page 27. I didn't point this out earlier, but look at Lloyd's face when he's talking to Anya. If you put a line between it, we are starting to see that crossover of Lloyd's character changing. And I want to highlight this mainly because in the most recent chapters of Spy Family, chapter 109, I think, when he's talking to Melinda, there's this line underneath his eye. I don't know if it's called a crease or something. I associate it as a Twilight. This is Twilight here. Whereas on the other side, it's stinking pen. Right here. Twilight on this side. And then if you go on the other side, this is Lloyd. Lloyd is trying to be established. That's what I want to point out in terms of art. They always do something. I always want to express paying close attention to the way that Lloyd is being drawn, because a lot of the times Endo-san is able to communicate who is taking over Lloyd based on the features that's being shown. So for Lloyd, for Lloyd, there's nothing here. Like, usually his eyes are much more wider. As we said, it's more rounded. Anytime we see things look more squarish or have this underline underneath, it's usually Twilight that's coming out in terms of his, like, appearance. That's what I want to point out, because that's what I've been noticing, especially when in the most recent chapters, is whenever Twilight and Lloyd are in the same room or presented in the same place, there's something going on with that. And the reason why that was inspired was I was thinking about I don't know if you guys have watched Squid Game, the second season. They talk about the businessman. The actor shows a really good way of showing half his face being scared, the other half being amazing and stuff. I'm gonna go look it up very quickly so I can show you that comparison. Good game. I'm trying to find that specific scene. Oh, I found it. Here it is. This is a little bit of a spoiler in terms of oops, I don't want to open TikTok. We'll just do this one here. Okay. This is really, really cool. Okay, take care, Fui. This is really incredible. So what you missed on Squid Game 2, don't worry about it. Is Gong Yu's face. His talent is amazing as an actor because he doesn't have a perfect face. That's what I want to point out. And a lot of the times we don't have symmetric faces, right? We are born with maybe partial of our face has certain features. It's the same thing about just being human. We're not born perfectly symmetrical. So what made this really incredible is that Gong Yu, the one who acted as the businessman, he has a talent because of his asymmetric face. One expression shows terrified. His eyes are big, they're wide. I wish I could show more of them. Like, you know, here, you can even see it. The asymmetry in his eyes. He's more expressive on his left side of the face because his eyes they're swollen, his eyes are big, whereas on the one on the right side, it's not, looks like a confident man. So one looks fearful, the other one looks confident. That's what I want to point out. And that's why, oops, I minimized my screen. That's why I wanted to point out with Lloyd, it's the same thing. Half is Twilight, the other is Lloyd. That's where I got the inspo from. And then I started to realize this, and then to see it in the first chapter alone, I'm like, oh my god, he really thought this out in the very first chapter alone. That's a lot of details. But yeah, anyways, that's the only thing I wanted to point out, and then come back to this, where we left off here. So we got to the point where Lloyd is stepping out. I'm stepping out for a bit. Be a good girl and watch your show. And then Anya wants to go out. She says, adventure time. And Lloyd is like, shoo, shoo. And she's holding on to dear life. It's not an adventure, it's just shopping. And I think that's so cute and hilarious. Leona said, all good. The LOL, the dreamification of spy work versus the real behind the scenes spy work. Ooh, that's a neat catch of how Lloyd is drawn. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to point out about the expression. And also the dreamification, like you said here. I think there's another way to call it. Romanticization, right? That's what we hear. Yes, that's the word I was looking at. The romanticization. This is very important to highlight because it doesn't just mean... the word might be confusing because we have the word romance, right? We have romance here. There's a root word. And that's why it might throw people off by saying, okay, how can that be related to love? Romanticization basically means it's us who puts love. We put love into something. So it's the ideology of, or the gesture of making something loved. It doesn't mean romance, like, romantic sense, kind of like falling in love kind of thing. It's more of Anya is romanticizing being a spy. So she sees the fun part, the action. She even romanticizes assassins, like with your story, you know?
Yeah.
But in here, it's the real world versus romanticization. So thank you for pointing that out, Leona. I forgot to, I wouldn't have addressed that if not for you. So real world versus romanticization. And then nothing else here other than just Anya trying to hold on to her dad. And then this is where we stop. Okay, so part 4. I'm just gonna go ahead and type it there just so we have a reference. So page 29. In the manga, it's actually page 27. Oops, where did this happen? But yeah. Any other comments or takeaways? Anyone else want to add?
No, not here.
Not here. Okay.
What about you, Leona?
I think Leona's typing, so we'll give her like a minute or so to add some thoughts. But yeah, today's stream was very linguistic. It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's bad because, again, I really love linguistics and I love exploring the nuances of languages. It might be a little dry for some people if they don't like linguistics or they don't care about that stuff. That's okay. We're not all the same people. And today's chapter was just very fun in terms of like understanding the relationship that's being addressed in word choices. That's probably the whole takeaway of this podcast for today's episode. Leona says, I think it's cute that Anya is so little and still sees everyday errands as an adventure. That's so cute. Yes,
Yeah, it is.
that is really cute. And the fact that her dad, I think the thing is, she is, in a sense, romanticizing her dad in terms of spy, right? Again,
Yeah.
she's romanticizing anything dad does. Oh my god, it's a spy thing, it's an adventure. I want to come along. So I think
Yeah.
this is really cute. I agree with Leona on there.
It's kind of like TV versus real.
Yes, yeah, TV versus real life and stuff, right?
And she's like, no, I'm not going to watch TV. I'm just going to come with you.
Exactly. She's like, oh my god, why do I want to watch TV when I have the real action in front of me? That's basically, yeah. She's really romanticizing this whole journey. Like, she's excited. Everything of her life is excitement, which is really cute. I like that. But yeah, Moss, anything else you want to add or take away from today's stream before I suppose we end it, because it's been a good, let me see how much time, 2 hours and 13 minutes in to our stream.
No, I didn't really have very many thoughts. I just thought it was really cool because we did like so much like language. Because obviously we typically like focus on art or like literature, but the language was like pretty cool. I didn't really focus that, so yeah, I quite like that.
Oh, thank you. I was getting concerned too. I was like, oh my god, am I geeking too much in linguistics right now? Because I was really like hung up on it. I was like, I want that hierarchy. It's important. Why I am really like latched onto like the linguistic aspect is because subconscious is always a very interesting topic to talk about, because when we say the word subconscious, it's not the same as unconscious, right? Like subconscious means we're awake, we're alert. It's just some part of our body does it without us consenting, in a sense. Like we don't actively consent, it just does the nuances for us. And it's really interesting because we don't think about it a lot of the times. We don't have a moment to pause while actually doing the action. We just go with the action and then we reflect later and think about it. That's kind of like the whole idea of linguistics, is like, we chose that word. Why did you choose that word? Because of this reason, context, blah blah blah, different definitions, etc. I love going into that. It's just I always have a concern where I'm like, oh, I think it's just too much, maybe. But yeah, glad to hear that you enjoyed that segment. Anya, anything else to add?
Not really. I'm sorry. I'm speaking a little bit too much.
No, it's
This
fine. I think it was it's very beneficial because I'm adding onto what you're saying because I'm trying to digest what you're saying and then putting a meta explanation to it that's gonna be hopefully easily understood by English consumers, hopefully. Was it too much, Moss?
No, I think it will be potentially a segment that people will skip, but I think it was like very good for people that have like literally no idea what any of this means. It's like weirdly interesting, and like it kind of grips you, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of dry stuff, kind of, and obviously not everyone will be fond of that kind of discussion, and that's perfectly okay. But yeah, it's just for me, it's just like I want to see if relationships are established in the very beginning. That's essentially why I want to reread the manga, is that you don't really think about, is there a relationship established, right? And Anya confirmed it in this action, the way she was returned multiple times, the nuance words of saying institution being ambiguous, house versus home, saying papa and chichi being used incorrectly, you know, like she wants to like the nuances of how words are being used. I feel like from a Japanese stance, when she used chichi, it's like she wants to put it in a way that she respects her dad, but at the same time, she's using it in a very informal sense. She's using the meta application incorrectly, right, Anya? Is my understanding now of it.
I think so.
Because like it's really funny and cute that she's using Chi-Chi in a very informal way. That's the whole funny thing about it. But it shows by word choice, by Chi-Chi in Japanese, she respects her dad, or really deeply respects him. Whereas in English translation, we see she uses papa to show more of an informal grasp on, like, okay, she uses papa because she wants to have a relationship with him. Like, that's her dad. But yeah, those small nuances says a lot, at least to me. So yeah. Anyways, today's podcast is now concluded. A lot of linguistic stuff, for sure, but it was fun for me. I hope Moss says it's fun for her. Anya definitely had a great time. Leona, I hope you enjoyed today's stream as well. And Fui too. Fui had to leave, but it was very fun talking to you guys. She's like, she sure did. Okay, I'm glad. I'm really glad. We also hope our listeners are also enjoying our nuance analyses on our post. I did have a comment on YouTube. I don't know if I should address it. Should I, you guys?
It's up to you. I would.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and address at least one of them. We'll have this actually put. How do I minimize that? Because I do want to talk about one of our notifications I got here. It was really sweet, and I wanted to give a shout out, I guess. Also, I apologize because I know I'm supposed to comment on these, but I don't have a lot of time, so I do my best to come back and respond. So I'm very late on responses. First and foremost, I do want to highlight some things here from chapter 106. Dorothy, Dorothy is a recent, I was gonna say subscriber, not subscriber, but follower. So she really enjoys our discussions here. Patrick also says he's enjoying the conversation. Rachel keeps coming back here, so I'm always really happy to read her comments. I just haven't had the time to sit down and respond to all of them, but there was also a comment here that mentioned about the Daily Weiss. Oh, here it is. This person. So here, definitely enjoying these deep dives into the chapters and the Wise Cipher podcast. So yeah, Lil Random Raisin, gave a shout out to us. As I'm a big language and lit nerd myself, and as a storyteller, it's fascinating to see how Endo Sensei structures his stories, like how I'm paying more attention to Lloyd, Twilight's Mr. Real's eyes, to see who's he's talking as. I don't think he's screwed, but he needs to learn some mind masking techniques and quick. I'm a little worried for Anya. Thanks for making these. So yeah, it's really nice to see comments like these, because for us it's like, oh, I'll try my best to come around and comment and reply soon, but I thought I would just give a small spotlight for the people who recently followed my YouTube channel, because we'll definitely make more videos addressing these stuff too. I know in the future Anya wants to bring up new topics, right? What was one of them that you proposed we would talk about? Just as a small teaser, I guess you would, if you will, Anya.
I think we could talk about the Eyes Only book. and also we could talk about um interviews, podcast, and also how the anime producers interpret the story.
Oh, okay. That sounds we can definitely explore that in future podcasts because I know for a fact that we are trying our best to make two podcasts a week, right? That's our goal. That we will try to do that. So at least one day is dedicated to parsing the manga if needed, because we'll do a back and forth. There's the manga. We try to do the manga more, but if we want to explore another topic, at least one day will be dedicated to the manga. The other one is the is whatever topic we decide to cover, and then yeah, I think that's a hint of maybe future projects that we're gonna do for the podcast. Yeah, I think that's everything, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, awesome. So I guess with that being said, that is the end of today's stream. We would like to thank you all for sticking around, and if you listen to this entire podcast, we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts that you listened to with us geeking out over the nuances. And yeah, feel free to keep leaving comments. Apologies again for very, very, very late responses. It's not because I forgot. It's because time is very limited from my end, so I have a hard time responding to comments as soon as possible. But I'll do my best to come around when I can. And then I think other than that, maybe Ania and Moss, if you guys want to, you guys are also welcome to comment under the podcast where we post them. You're welcome to comment too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're helping me too, because I'm like, my god, my time is limited. I'm not ignoring them. I'm not trying to. But yeah, other than that, that is today's stream. Wherever you are in the world, we wish you guys a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Stay hydrated, drink water, eat something healthy. And other than that, I guess that's the end of the stream. So yeah, bye guys, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
のもとお眠りなさい私の可愛い王子様お眠